Encounters are very polarizing with their power level, where the rare ones are extremely good, but the common ones you see every day are bad. The encounters at the top of this tier list are so good you can't skip them, where the ones at the bottom I'm usually skipping. This is the second time I've done this tier list, and the first one went out of date in like a week, so hopefully that doesn't happen this time, but it seems like it might because the devs are pretty open to fully changing any of the encounters, and it does take a while for me to form an opinion on them. So starting with the overpowered encounters, Frozen Tomb. Frozen Tomb is the rarest encounter because it's the only legendary one. I have over 600 games played and I've only seen Frozen Tomb 3 times. Freeze enchant is nutty, but some items it's not even that good on, and it's still worth it to freeze enchant your item. And you are always willing to override a previous enchant for freeze. So Frozen Tomb cannot be skipped. Frozen Tomb does come as a level up option, but for this video I'm just talking about the encounters that you spend an hour on, not the 10 and 19 level up enchantments or the revive enchant choices versus the artist, because those probably deserve their own video. Sanguine Valley. Obsidian is my favorite diamond tier enchant. Why would I want to poison, slow, or burn my opponent when I could just delete all their health? You need a big number to put this on though, so there's a chance it doesn't fit your board. Putting this on a small number item is fine, although I would kind of be willing to pivot my board to be more aggressive if I got Obsidian enchant, and I would be sure willing to override a bad enchant. I almost always choose Monster Ranch. With the changes to the start a fight mechanics and bonking every item, cooldown reduction is even better now than it was just a few months ago. Early game you might not keep your items, but late game, Feather and Insect Wing are too good to pass up. Past day 10, nothing matters more than just getting your build started as early as possible. Snowflake is also incredibly good for freeze items, and the other loot items can rarely make a difference. You can whiff though, so it is kind of balanced out. On this tier list I wrote an abbreviated version of what you can expect from each encounter below their name, but it isn't the only option, and I sometimes will choose other ones. That's just the main one that I suggest. Languid Dunes. Slow enchant can be kind of finicky. Sometimes on a small 8-second cooldown item, it gives 1 slow for 1 second. In that case, Languid Dunes is terrible and doesn't work. But unless you're perma-slowing your entire opponent's board, then slowing an item for 1 second is pretty similar to freezing it. On some of the better slow enchanted items, you can perma-slow your opponent's entire board. However, there are just some builds that don't work well with slow enchant. But I am willing to override a previous enchant. Slow just doesn't take advantage of any big number builds. But with Curio being able to buff the times on your slow items, even just 1 second of slow can be viable. The artist. Obviously you pick it as an encounter if your items aren't already enchanted. The chance of getting shiny or freeze makes this sometimes the best enchant, but not being able to predict what it's getting makes it not worth it to override a previous enchant. If a large number item that I have has a bad enchant, I will override it in hopes of getting an enchant that works off of big numbers. As a choice for the revive mechanic and the level up option, it's probably going to be super build dependent whether you choose the artist. Forja. It's rare that my build is fully upgraded to Diamond, but I will skip her if the upgrade doesn't really do much. Like if an upgrade adds 30 damage to an item firing 3 times, it's only 90 more stats, so I might look towards the Merchant or the Event. Forja just appears so often from the level up options, and some builds just don't benefit enough from upgrades. But it's almost always a direct power increase to your board, so you don't want to skip her. Dooley's Workshop. Usually this is just a worse Forja because it only works on friends and cores, because you never choose the free friend. That is useless. Even just the 10% max HP is almost always better, but I don't know if you still need to have the core in order to pick it. They just changed it so you can sell the core. It's kind of a meta dependent encounter because if you don't have any friends or cores, you actually can't go to this. But 10% max HP is like 500 health, so realistically, you're not going to be skipping Dooley's Workshop. Investment pitch. 4 XP is absurd, and doubling the value of an item that you have might be exactly what you need to put your build over the top. Upgrading a property is also good, but since 4 XP is so hard to come by, and it's a ridiculous amount, I'm not really skipping it. I'm only really skipping investment pitch if I'm out of prestige and I'm not going with properties. Hattie. 2 of the 6 options that give a random skill can be hit or miss. The hat is a better forja because you can duplicate the item, and the loot items could be a feather or insect wing. The extra gold in the enchanted item are terrible. So 4 out of the 6 options improve your build, making Hattie hard to skip. Hattie is free, so it's not like you can skip because of money, but his power level isn't crazy, and maybe you need a merchant. Study giving 1 XP on the right might be the exact amount you need to level up for the PvP fight, but come on, you're always spinning the wheel. If you are wondering how I know what all 6 options on Hattie's wheel do, it's with the encounter cheat sheet I made, and I have linked a high quality version of it on my other socials. Those were the options that I've only really skipped a few times, but these ones are much more build dependent, and synergy is needed. Burning Caldera. Burn enchant is so nice when you have an item with a large number on it. However, if your large number items are already enchanted and you're just putting 5 burn on a 5-second cooldown item, it isn't really going to help you at all. Mirkwood Bayou. Poison enchant is similar because it's either really good or really bad, and so as an encounter I might just skip these. After level 19, you might already have 3 enchants with the revive mechanic, so enchanting support items with no numbers on it is probably a bad use of an hour. But obviously the power level is so high that they can win you fights, so they're at the top of this tier. Guardian Gorge. Again, shield enchant needs a large number item. Getting 1,000 shield each use is great, while 50 is awful. Tranquil Spring. I prefer the shield enchant over the heal enchant, because you can overflow the shield onto your max health, while the heal caps out. And shield enchant reduces burn damage by 50%, while removing 1 burn and 1 poison isn't really good late game. It's rare that I think that healing is better than shield, but there are some synergies where I think it could work out. The problem is 100 stats just isn't enough in a fight, and throwing these 2 enchants on small, slow items isn't going to help you. So none of these are must chooses, but they're still really good. Sirocco Step. I just feel like there are enough ways to haste items in this game. And if all my items are already perma-hasted, haste enchant does nothing. So Sirocco Step gets skipped sometimes, but obviously if you're missing haste, it is so good. Form. Form used to have shiny on the far right option, but now it's just a random enchant. Because you have to have a weapon to go to Form, he probably gets skipped a good amount. But if you have a weapon and you can't afford the 25 gold enchant, the 25% extra crit chance is probably the move. If my weapon's already enchanted, then yeah, I'll probably just upgrade or add the crit chance. This next tier is very good, but it's not good enough where I'm willing to skip a merchant if I'm missing items from my build. Bounty Hunter. I like knowing that Bounty Hunter is an easy fight that gives 3 XP, but the golden loot he gives is whatever. Deadly Duel and Epic Battle. Gaining XP, gold, and an item is a fantastic use of an hour for any build. You should be getting the extra fight in as often as possible. The only problem is if you don't have a great build, you might not actually beat all of the PvE opponents, because they can be from your current day or the next day. As long as you know that the PvE fights are winnable, you need to be farming XP and gaining econ. I prefer Deadly Duel over Epic Battle because I like getting more XP on earlier days, but Deadly Duel can give you Lich. Bladeborn Badlands, and now we've reached what used to be the worst enchant. Why isn't this 100% crit chance? Really? 50? Unfortunately, if I have a good item, I'm going to override this enchant, because I can get crit chance in other ways, and I want to have an item enchanted and with crit chance, not enchanted with the crit chance. Since you can get to 100% crit chance without this, I'm almost always choosing the artist over it. But as an encounter, yeah, you should pick this, and maybe not put it on your best item, but just kind of a supporting item that has a higher number. Because if I put it on my best item, I'm probably going to end up overriding the enchant. Now for the encounters that I usually choose, but I do skip. Pearl's Dig Site. I'm beginning to think this might be an economy option. Obviously, you can find a good item, but if you have less than 20 gold, and you're staring at an item that sells for 24, are you really going to pass it up? Late game, when my gold doesn't matter, I'll roll it down for anything that improves my build. Like, I'll always stop on Insect Wing or Feather, or any other buff that really helps my board. Because if I'm taking an item, it really needs to synergize well. This is a tough encounter to evaluate, and it's extremely skill intensive. Because even just choosing to go to this encounter, you have to make like 10 more decisions. Shrouded Figure. XP is why I go to him. Rarely 2 to 4 XP won't hit the breakpoint, so I'll go with the health. and sometimes I'm out of money, so I'll have to take the gold, but you should be floating gold in this game, so you can always take XP. Bazaar Con. The other two options are just glorified events. Mountain Pass. Early game, I might not take risky because I might not actually beat all the PvE fights it offers, but for the most part, I'm just trying to get any extra PvE fight I can, and the risky option will average out to more than 1 XP. However, if I'm 1 XP short of the PvP fight, I will take the guaranteed 1 XP and 2 gold. On the left. But never take the 5 gold option. Gaining 2 income is probably viable on the gold skill start in Pig, but as long as I can beat the monster, I'm taking risky. Aerodrome. If you have around 50 gold and are clearly going to finish your run with extra gold, you can roll this thing down for something good. Like one of the encounters in the top 3 tiers of this video, but most of the time I end up just choosing a merchant that fits my build really well. It's just so expensive after the first few rolls, but I'm almost always going to roll once or twice just to see if I can hit an extra enchant, because it's the way to turn a 7-win run into a 10-win. Economic Seminar. Gaining 2 free items or skills is great for your econ, and it's one of the few ways you can actually get skills outside of the level up options. It's definitely easy to skip though if you have enough gold and aren't cycling items. Economic Seminar is more just like a really good event, so if you're broke, it's a great option. The reasons I'm skipping these, like XP, are when it doesn't matter, like late game, or when like snack time is my event choice, or when I'm in desperate need of items for my board. Unlike this next tier where there are a lot more reasons I would skip it. And it depends. Finn's Big Bite. On days 1 and 2, 5 regen is excellent. Late game, getting 5% extra HP is awesome. It's the mid game where the stats just don't really line up super well to really warrant an hour. I almost never seem to pick the shield and the heal choices, but I guess if you have 2 of those items, it would be good. I just like the regen because it'll always stick around. Tiny Furry Monster. The 2 main options are terrible. 25 max health is not enough, and the silver loot item would be good late game, but on days 1 and 2, I don't know if I'm keeping my items. What I'm really after is the XP. You need to have a friend, toy, or food in order for the third option to show up. It's difficult to guarantee getting to level 3 before the day 2 PvP fight if you don't take the 1 extra XP from Tiny Furry Monster. The difference between being level 3 and 2 is what decides the day 2 PvP fight, and it's extremely difficult to make up that difference. So taking a friend from the shop just to hold it for Tiny Furry Monster is the move, and then fighting Rogue Scrapper on day 2 should guarantee you to get there. Mountain Pass and Study are the only other ways on day 2 to get that extra XP. But in this meta right now, you have to hit this breakpoint, especially on Dooley where you get his core. But don't really go to Tiny Furry Monster if you don't need the XP for the breakpoint or if you don't have a friend, food, or toy. Artisan Dunes. Since the introduction of Mac, I think that burn is better than poison because Mac doesn't have any shield. Investing 5 gold for 1 extra burn or poison is something I'm almost always doing. But if we're comparing this to like Cinders or Extract, it is not that great for your economy. Obviously, if you don't have a weapon that fires fast, any poison or burn items, then you're skipping Artisan Dunes. But since it's all 3, you're going to go pretty often. And I'm not sure what day this stops showing up. So if anybody has a way to let me know what days things appear on, I would like to know. Because as of now, it's just based on my gameplay. B1 and B2. Just a Bronze Forja is so good early game. I almost never want to skip it on the first few days. But he just keeps showing up until day 8. And if he shows up so often, I'm not going to have any bronze items to upgrade. And the ones that I do aren't worth spending an hour on. If I have a bunch of money, sometimes it's just better to go to a shop and hope that one of the items shown is a bronze upgrade anyway, and you'll still get to see some items as well. But it's easy to see how B1 and B2 can be really strong the first few days. He just shows up too frequently to be excited about him. Jules Cafe is the definition of it depends. Late game, an extra 500 HP for just 1 fight is a legitimate strategy. And when the other 2 choices are generate a random item or visit a merchant that has an expensive reroll, just helping me out for 1 fight is the choice. It's easy to skip Jules Cafe though, because it is kind of a worse relax. But on those mid days, there's so much time left in my run that I want to be doing things that improve it for the long haul. With a full weapon build, I think the damage can be better than the max health, but I would still end up going to it around the same amount, because it's really based on my record and how many days I think I have left in the run. Like if I'm 8-0 and I'm just trying to win right now, Jules Cafe is one of the best options, because I'm just trying to win as soon as possible so I don't have to fight any builds past day 10. Celestial Conduit. So now we've come to the worst enchant. I wouldn't be surprised if this was on the bottom of the tier list in a few weeks, if the devs really don't rework this enchant. Because with the latest change to it now not being able to be targeted by slow or freeze, means that crowd control affects your other items more. So this enchant right now kinda actively makes your board worse. I kinda expect this change to be reverted, because nerfing Radiant just didn't seem like a meta decision, but maybe it's a quality of life improvement that I don't know about and it's here to stay. Since I've only been playing with it less than a week, maybe my opinion will change, but man, they killed this enchant. It's only on one item builds that I think this enchant is even viable. This next tier is just okay. Mysterious Portal. Very overrated encounter. Half the time I get a bad merchant that is just not worth rerolling on. If the event or merchant I get is decent, I'll heavily consider them, because I like the guarantee over Portal. I have just been burned by the Portal so many times. If I see Mysterious Portal early, I am much more likely to choose it, because then I can get to something that I normally wouldn't have access to. Lick It. Lick It used to be better when upgrading bronze items was more common, but right now B1 and B2 is still common enough, and it is the main way you're upgrading bronzes, especially on days 7 and 8 where you usually don't actually have anything to upgrade anyway. So you can keep the tasty treat in your stash until you get to that point. Also, the silver tier upgrade hammer can save you the hour on B1 and 2, because you have to upgrade this tasty treat. I'm almost always going with the super syrup, and if you get it all, it would be 30% crit chance on 2 items. On Vanessa and the crit core on Dooley, this is a ridiculous amount of stats that it's worth the amount of awkwardness you have to go through. But it is still bad if you're kind of choosing between playing the tasty treat or having a build good enough to face the elite monster on the PvE fights. If Lick It just showed up on different days, he would be so much better. Lost Crate. The medium item is terrible, but I love the random skill. Grandmaster's existence is the only reason why I don't just spam skills constantly. Having a bunch of skills that don't do anything makes the skill upgrade merchant worse, but when I have like a shield, burn, poison, and weapon item, getting a random skill, a lot of the time it's going to be helpful, and so many of them are good early game. If Lost Crate showed up later, I would love it even more, and you can just skip the skill it offers if it makes your build bad. But just investing in skills early game isn't really the move, because you should be building your board. This tier I do pick often enough, but this next tier is really only good on one hero, the Dox. The Dox is excellent on Vanessa. If this was on Vanessa only, this would be up in the usually choose because of the XP, and 5 gold that can be gained from holding either Astrolab or Star Chart. Always buy Astrolab and Star Chart early and hold them for the Dox. Without them though, this is just a random item generator, but it can be from any hero or neutral, so it could give you something crazy for your build. I think this is really more just an event, and it's hard to actually know whether to choose the weapon, tool, or shield, and I think it's pretty balanced between the 3 of them, and it's pretty build dependent overall. Jungle Ruins. I'm a big fan of 3 regen on day 1. I usually have no problem filling my 4 item slots, and going into the fight with 3 regen might be the difference. Obviously Finn's Big Bite would just be a better version of that, and the 2 bronze loot items is kind of like a good event, but past the first day I'm going for the merchant or event because the numbers are just so low on Jungle Ruins. On Pig though, the 2 income option is excellent, and it should be gone to and picked. Eating Contest. Gaining health is really good. Spending gold to get that health is not that good. Sometimes the other 2 choices are just so bad I want the 50 HP. When I have a lot of gold, I actually do like the 150 extra HP because it can make the difference in a fight. With small item synergy or having the stash space to hold it for Barcoon or Valpak probably makes chocolate bars underrated. I usually just don't end up picking the 5 gold for 5 silvers because it seems like it's just an awkward choice. I usually either want more health or more gold, and not in between. I prefer to take the chocolate bars at the beginning of the day because then I can hold them all the way for Valpak or Barcoon right before the PvP fight. On Pig though, the synergy is just so strong that it's actually a viable choice. Mandala, the newest encounter, so I think people are probably over choosing it because it's new. With the enchanted item start, getting a shiny or frozen item and then switching the item around randomly to try and see if you can get a better one for the enchant to be on can be good. But outside of Mac, rerolling an item is just not a good use of an hour. The bronze large item pool could be small enough where you can actually target exactly what you want, but generally this is just bad, and it shows up so often that you're just usually skipping it. Gumball Machines. With weapon builds or just needing a little bit of crit chance, gumballs are fine late game. But 10 gold is expensive, so I don't want to be going to gumballs without small item synergy. If I go, I'll buy all 10 gumballs though, to make use of that hour. And on Pig, gaining 10 items to sell is just really good. So if you're not playing the hero that has the extra synergies, I'm usually skipping the ones in this tier. This next tier though, I usually skip regardless of my hero. Street Festival. This encounter is really more like a merchant, and it used to be so much better because there were so many less items in the pool for each of the heroes, but now it's just too big to target anything, and the reroll is so expensive. Since it shows up on the left, and you're going to have to choose between this and an encounter, I'm actually kind of choosing this less often than if it was versus another merchant. With Ice Cream Truck though, this is a must take for the XP and the gold, and you should be holding Ice Cream Truck from Chili Charles if you get it, for that reason. A Strange Mushroom. The neutral item pool is just too big to be pressing that button, so it's basically just a guaranteed 4 gold. On Mac, I will take the potion over an event, but it's not great, but the power level is just so low that the events are usually better. With the gold skill star, I don't have a lot of gold, so maybe just the 4 extra guaranteed gold can be good on days 1 and 2. The Cult. The options where you lose health are almost never worth it. It needs to be like day 4 or 5 and you portaled into this. But the free gold small item is good. If you have a bunch of regen and the Staff of the Moose, the Ritual Dagger is an actual build. But on heroes outside of Mac, I just can't see this encounter being chosen. I'm still open to the 25 regen for 10% health option, but the fights just usually don't last long enough for the regeneration to matter enough, so I'm only doing it with regen synergy. But maybe I just haven't played Mac enough to get it yet. I generally choose encounters over merchants or events because they don't cost any gold and they do a lot. I'm wanting to skip the bad encounters to go to merchants or events, specifically because there are so many really good encounters that cannot be skipped. Let me know where you would have them ranked. I'm updating this tier list now and things have changed quite a bit from the last time, and I'm sure they will in the future, so subscribe for more.